Right. The reason why authorship was stated later is because when the common knowledge started to pass out of existence as one generation gave way to the next generation started to ask the question, well, who wrote this? And so the church had to offer the answer that it had kept within its common knowledge, within its tradition, and then we have the authorship being ascribed at a later period. The church was teaching the doctrines of the Christian faith even before any texts were written, as evidenced by the whole of the New Testament. All of Paul's letters were written to pre-existent communities. In other words, they existed before he wrote a letter to them. All of his letters were reactionary letters, bar Romans, and are written in such a way that they are correcting them most of the time. But if you're correcting someone, that means that there is the presence of a norm that is assumed in the correction. Luke was written for a believer. That means that there was a belief before the gospel. John was written so that people would believe. So his is a tract, as it were, what we would call a tract. But that means that there's a body of belief before the writing. What the authors already believed about Jesus Christ is what Mark is defending, that Jesus Christ is the Jewish Messiah. And he's giving an apologetic as to how the Jewish Messiah could suffer. That means that the belief was there before the literature. The idea of Christ being the Messiah is the apologetical theme of Matthew also. All of this testifies to the fact that the beliefs were there before the text, which means that questions of authorship, whilst being important, whilst being something that we should grapple with, and whilst being something that we can have discussions about, do not fundamentally critique the Christian faith. The question is, are the doctrines true? Was Jesus really crucified? Was he really the Messiah?
That's good, Bob. Can I just add one thing to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very interesting when you're talking about that, because the fact is that from what we know about the ancient world, about Greco-Roman biographies and everything, virtually none of these has an authorship dedicated to them. So basically, I can only imagine, I'm sure you can as well, imagine if the Christian writings were the only one that had an authorship attached to them. I wonder how we would surely have objections as well then. Oh, look at Christianity and the Christian writings, they have authorship next to them. But look at all the others, like the dozens and dozens of Greco-Roman biographies we have that does not have authorship. So that will still make Christian writings look suspicious, because they will be the only one with an authorship on, while all the others virtually don't have.
Yeah, exactly. There's countless scripts that have passed over from antiquity where they don't have a signed name at the bottom, because it just wasn't normative. And Dr. Mike Lacona has done great work to establish that the literature of the New Testament sits in the norms of its time. And so it's almost an ahistorical argument to demand the kind of evidenced authorship that we would expect in the 21st century.
Blah 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 blah.